Welcome to this week's edition of Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Mackenzie Collins.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. We have a lot in store for tonight's show. We will be reviewing Auburn's loss to Georgia, Auburn soccer, Auburn volleyball, and look at some notable Auburn alumni in the pros.
Following their first win in Baton Rouge since 1999, Auburn football returned to the Plains on Saturday to take on the second-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Here's Delaney Barrow with the story.
Today, the number 18 Auburn Tigers hosted the number 2 Georgia Bulldogs in the 126th matchup of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Right from the first kickoff, Georgia's top-ranked defense, critical dropped passes, along with missed scoring opportunities proved to be obstacles the Tigers could not overcome, resulting in a 34-10 loss. Auburn put the first points on the board after a 17-play opening drive thanks to a field goal from Anders Carlson. The Tigers' next set of points came after a second-half touchdown from Tank Bigsby. The 6-play, 78-yard scoring drive was highlighted by a 31-yard reception by Kalen Newton. Demetrius Robertson led the offensive charge for the Tigers with his 59 receiving yards. On the ground, Tank Bigsby led the team with his 28 net rushing yards. The Tigers tried to hold their own defensively, forcing 7 3-and-outs, but ultimately it was Georgia's defense who stuffed the Tigers. With the loss, Auburn's record on the season moves to 4-2, 1-1 in the SEC. Next weekend, the Tigers will travel to Arkansas to take on the Razorbacks in another SEC football showdown. From Jordan-Hare Stadium, this is Delaney Barrow, Eagle Eye TV.
With the loss, Auburn falls out of the AP Top 25 rankings into 4-2 on the season. Georgia's defense controlled this game from start to finish, never allowing the Auburn offense to get into rhythm. What was a good start for the Tigers turned into the only offensive action in the first half for Auburn. Auburn's defense did what they could to hold Georgia to 17 first-half points. Once play returned in the second half, Georgia's run game got going and left Auburn in the dust. Here's what quarterback Bo Nix said after the game.
But just from an offensive standpoint, we just got to execute better. There's just little small, subtle areas that we can improve that'll make those big improvements that everyone kind of sees on the outside. Yeah, it's just coming to work tomorrow and being prepared throughout the week and putting more into the week than what we do. And I think, guys, we just got to kind of have to step up and just start making those plays. And I don't think this will necessarily kill our season. We know they were a good team, and obviously give them credit. They came in here and played a really good game. But we just kind of left some things out on the field that if we correct, obviously it gives us a better chance. Yeah, absolutely. We were just a play away from being down a touchdown at half, and that changes the game. Obviously, a few plays in that first drive that we come away without a touchdown. And against the Georgia team, you just got to score touchdowns in the red zone. You can't settle for field goals because when you're down there, obviously they're a good defense, so your chances aren't necessarily great of getting to the red zone. So once you get down there, you got to capitalize. But we did some good things. We did some bad things, some stuff we need to correct. And obviously there's just those little things throughout a drive that just kill you. And we got to stop doing that.
Auburn's offense struggled yet again on Saturday, not only on the ground but through the air. Quarterback Bo Nix had a decent game despite his stat line. Nix went 21 for 38 for 217 yards and 1 interception. His 1 interception came off a drop pass by running back Sean Shivers. That was the kryptonite of Auburn's offense on Saturday. Dropped passes were a problem. Auburn receivers dropped 16 passes. Demetrius Robertson led the team in drops with 6.
Auburn's defense did what it could to stop the Georgia offense, but the second half charge was just too much. Auburn held Georgia to 36 rushing yards in the first half. In the second half, Georgia rushed for 165 yards. Defensive back Zion Puckett led Auburn in tackles with 10 total tackles and 5 solo tackles. Aku Leota was the only Tiger to register a sack.
Following the loss, here's what head coach Brian Harsin had to say.
Disappointed in the game. Anytime we step on the field, we expect to win. We want to put ourselves in a position to go out there and be successful and try to play the best football we played during the season. That didn't happen today. Georgia had a lot to do with that. Georgia's a very good team. I think they've proven throughout the season why they're in the position that they're in. And they played well. They're coached well. That shows up in our preparation as we watch them. That showed up today, and they made plays. So very good football team. The type of team that we want to be. We want to be in that position. That's where we want Auburn football to be, is to have a chance to go into every single game and be able to win, be able to do all the things on special teams, offense and defense that we know we're capable of doing at a consistent basis. And so they were able to do that tonight. So a lot of credit to Georgia. And as far as our play, there's things that you obviously see that on the field that we're going to have to clean up and be better at. Those are things that we practice. But that practice has to carry over into the game, and then the performance has to carry over into the game, and that's coaches, players, everybody. That starts with me and remaining focused on the fundamentals of the game, the details that we have to have going into it, and making sure that every day leading up to Saturday is as important as game day. Yeah, I didn't know that stat necessarily. I know that we dropped the ball. I know there's been drops, and that's something that we're going to continue to keep working on. As far as guys and rotation, I mean, like I said before, I got asked this. We practice, and guys earn opportunities to be out there on the field. So we're going to put guys on the field that earn the opportunity to play because of how they practice. So that's and that opportunity is there. We need to continue to find guys that will may be able to make plays for us. The drop issue, it's frustrating. And, I think we did some things this week that I thought would address some of those things. I don't know how many we had today. I didn't count that up at this point. But those are going to happen. You're not going to have a perfect game. There'll be a drop here and there. And I know how it's so heightened at this point, but we have too many. At the end of the day, we have too many.
Up next for Auburn is a matchup with number 17, Arkansas and Fayetteville. Arkansas is coming off back-to-back losses to Georgia and Ole Miss. Here's what Brian Harsin had to say about the Arkansas Razorbacks.
As you look at Arkansas, tough, physical, those two things stand out. The coaches do a very good job. They're 2 points away from being 5-1, and they're playing aggressive. And so, those things all stand out. There's a lot of really good players on their team. They've all made plays. Offensively, the quarterback can run it, throw it, can do it all. They play physical up front. They can run the ball. And, that's an identity of that team. Defensively, a lot of different things. I think Coach Odom does a very good job on that side of the ball, and you can see the variety in the defensive schemes and how they play. And they faced some very good offenses this season as well, and so there's a challenge there. Special teams are solid, and there's opportunities there to make plays, and they've created those plays on special teams. So all those factors, as you look at Arkansas, in my opinion, they've done a very good job up to this point, and you can see that within their team. Yeah, ideally, you want to run the football. One way to do that is stop losing early. That's a way to do that. So don't get behind and, stay in a position where you can run the football. Some of those, you just start kind of looking at the end of the game. You got to throw it because you're losing. And so, we got to keep the ball game closer so you can run the ball more effectively.
Auburn heads into the game as a 3.5-point underdog to the Razorbacks. One thing Auburn will need to do to pull out their 5th straight win against Arkansas is to stop the run. Arkansas is averaging 244 yards per game on the ground and is their main source of offense. Kickoff is scheduled for 11 a.m. Central Time on CBS. When we return, we'll talk about the other sports happening around Auburn, including soccer and volleyball. You are watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. Auburn soccer got back to the winning ways last Thursday with a 1-0 win over Mississippi State in Starkville, Mississippi. Auburn thought they broke the deadlock early in the 10th minute, but Olivia Candelino's goal was negated for an offside call. Forward Cindy Richards scored the game's only goal in the 85th minute. Goalkeeper Maddie Prohaska notched 4 saves in the winning effort and helped solidify the defensive line. Prohaska spoke on the defense after the game, saying, "We played defense as a team, and the backline is really coming together."
Auburn soccer continued their winning ways on Sunday when they took on LSU at the Auburn Soccer Complex with another 1-0 win. Here is Zach Card with the story.
Number 22, Auburn welcomes SEC West rival LSU to the Plains. Sydney Richards, Anna Haddock, and the Auburn Tigers spent the first half berating LSU goalkeeper Molly Swift with shots from in and outside the box, some sailing wide and some forcing a save from Swift. In the second half, the game evened out with shots coming from both sides. Both defenses felt a lot of pressure, and the fouls mounted. With 10 minutes left in the second half, Haddock had her free kick from just outside the box saved. This would lead to a 0-0 stalemate and force the game into extra time. In extra time, Marissa Arias would find the back of the net in just 2 minutes to end the stalemate and the match, giving Auburn the 1-0 win. The Tigers play again Sunday, October 17th against Florida at the Auburn Soccer Complex.
With the wins this week, Auburn moves to 10-3 on the season and 4-2 in the SEC.
This past weekend, Auburn Volleyball traveled to Fayetteville, Arkansas to take on the Razorbacks for matches on Saturday and Sunday. Rebecca Rath recorded one of the best individual performances in Auburn history on Saturday. Rath recorded 29 kills, making it the second most kills ever recorded by a Tiger in a single match. However, after winning the first set, the Tigers lost 3 straight sets to fall to the Razorbacks with a final score of 1-3.
The Tigers then looked to get a bounce-back win on Sunday. Rebecca Rath once again had a strong outing and for the second straight match in a row recorded 20 or more kills. The Tigers came out of the tunnel with a chip on their shoulder and won the first 2 sets against the Razorbacks. They looked to close the match out with one more set win, but Arkansas gained some momentum and never lost it. Unfortunately, the Razorbacks would go on to win 3 straight sets and defeat Auburn with a final score of 2-3. The Tigers' record now sits at 10-6 following the pair of losses.
Number 1 ranked Auburn Equestrian kicked off their 2021-22 campaign against the second-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Auburn welcomed their Bulldogs to the Auburn University Equestrian Center on Friday, where they would ultimately defeat the Bulldogs for the 10th straight time with the final of 13-7.
The Tigers swept the most outstanding performer honors. Taylor Searless brought home the 9th MOP of her career. Ava Stearns was honored for her 91-87 defeat over Georgia in fences. Ellie Ferrigno took home the award for her performance in flat. Lastly, Isabella Tesmer also brought home an award following her outing in reining. The Tigers' next match will be in Stillwater, Oklahoma, to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys on October 15th at 1 o'clock Central Time. When we return, we'll talk about some former Auburn alumni in the pros. You're watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. Auburn alumni had another strong outing in the NFL this weekend. Tampa Bay Buccaneers cornerback Jamel Dean returned this weekend from injury and picked off his first pass of the season in Tampa Bay's win over Miami. Dean played all 54 snaps on defense and picked up 5 tackles to go along with his 4th career interception.
Former Auburn safety and New York Jets linebacker Jamian Sherwood continues to impress in his rookie campaign. The rookie registered 6 tackles and finished with a Pro Football Focus grade of 77 in the Jets' loss to Atlanta.
That's all for Sports Night in Auburn, but for more Auburn sports, head to our website, eagleeyeauburn.com, where we'll have everything you need to know to stay up to date on Auburn sports. I'm Mackenzie Collins.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. For even more sports, follow our Twitter at EETV_sports and follow our Instagram at EagleEyeTV. Good night and War Eagle.